Okay. Hi students, a very good afternoon to everyone. I am Pooja Chatwani. I'll be taking your CA Foundation sessions for BCR. I am associated with Yashas Academy. Unacademy has started with a CA Iconic program. It's a flagship program for CA Foundation aspirants. You'll be having live mentoring platforms, which will obviously include your personal coaching, doubt solving, evaluated test series, printed books, industry experts, and discords, whatnot. You will have one-to-one live mentoring in Iconic program, which is going to be very helpful to all of you all. Evaluated test series, which will be divided into 40, 80, 100% of your syllabus, so that it makes sure that you have the best preparation ever. And your Iconic subscription needs to be used with the code Yashas Live. You can select it from 24 months, 12 months, 6 months, whatever is suitable to all of you all. And that's it. Okay. So students, let's start with today's topic, characteristics of effective communication. Let's understand how to make our communication extremely effective and powerful. So there are certain parameters, these are scientifically proven, and these parameters make sure that all of you are going to have an impactful communication. So when I say impactful communication, it means that whatever we communicate needs to be understood by the person talking in the same intent what the speaker is trying to speak. So if I try to give out a sentence and if you get the right intent to it, I have done an effective communication. I hope all of you all have understood what is effective communication. Now let's go to what are the qualities to make sure that your communication is effective. Okay, so now let's come to the first one, clarity. When I start with clarity, it means that how clear your communication has to be, concise in how smaller your words or how less your words can be used, and still you can give out the right meaning to it. Next is our concreteness. So when I speak about concreteness, it is about talking to the point. See, my diagram is so apt. Coherent. How logical can you make sure that there is a logical representation of your sentences, your structures, your words altogether? Making sure that your communication is complete, not giving incomplete information, being polite, the most crucial part. It is all about being courteous when you're communicating with someone. Then comes your listening for understanding, focus and attention, emotional awareness, and control. These three are self explanatory, but let's see and discuss all of these further in detail from your ICAI material perspective. So students, everything that you can see on my screen is there in your ICAI material in the books, modules that have been given to you by ICAI, BCR. So let's quickly begin with it. Principle of clarity. So when I speak of principle of clarity, what do I really mean by it? It is talking about any spoken or written communication that should state the purpose of the message clearly. Here, the word that you should be able to remember is the purpose. Okay. The word that you should be able to remember is the purpose of the message clearly. Next, your language should be simple. So the next important word that you have here is your language. Your language should be very simple while you speak, not to use jargons. You should make sure that you avoid long convoluted messages or long convoluted sentences. Avoiding these long convoluted messages. The next, each idea or point must be explained in separate bulleted points or paragraphs. There needs to be bulleted points and paragraphs. Make sure for the reader to grasp the intent of the communicate. That's what I was trying to tell you, that the intention of the communication should be passed to the reader. If the reader is not able to understand your communication, your intention of this communication, your communication is not effective. Okay, let's see how do we remember these points. Let's quickly read through. Okay, first, when I'm talking about clarity, you need to understand that clarity is about purpose of the message. How do you give out this purpose of the message? So there is purpose of the message. Hang on, hang on. There is purpose of the message. This purpose of the message needs to be what? It needs to be simple. How can it be simple? It can be simple by two ways. By avoiding long convoluted sentences. And next, by making bulleted points. Within a jiffy, we will be able to remember first point, second point, third point, and fourth point. Because of all of this, what happens? Because of all of this, there is the intent of communicate. You can even write communication. It is not a very big deal. Communicate is Latin. You can even write intent of communicate. And that's it. You're done. Your five phrases, 5 points are remembered. Purpose of the message. Language should be simple. So I'm just adding one word here, and that is language. Your language should be simple. How can you make it simple? By avoiding long convoluted sentences and bulleted points and the intent of communicate. So let's come back and see, have we covered all the points? Purpose of the message, language should be simple. We should avoid long convoluted sentences and bulleted points or paragraphs should be used, and the intent of the message should be understood. So I hope you have understood the pointer. Principle of clarity is done and dusted. Let's go to the next one. Principle of conciseness. Let's understand principle of conciseness. So principle of conciseness is making sure that you are putting everything in as concise manner as possible. The brevity is the key. Using the exact words is the key. So brevity here is the word that you should be remembering. So every time I ask you about conciseness, the first word that should pop up into your mind is supposed to be brevity. No one has the time to read long drawn out essays. Besides, the core content is lost in elaborate details. Oh, did you realize this is a similar sentence? It was, the sentence before was long convoluted sentences. Here the sentence is long, here the sentence is core content. So they are similar sentences, however, stick to the word core over here. Core content. Avoid using too many irrelevant words or adjectives. For example, use see, I mean to say, extra, etc. Ensure that there are no repetitions. So here, examples and repetitions are the last two things that you should be able to remember. So when I ask you to remember characteristics of effective communication, principle of conciseness, you're supposed to remember the word brevity, core content is lost, examples, and no repetition. So let's see if we are able to remember it. Okay, the first thing that you should be knowing is brevity. Brevity means usage of exact words, not beating around the bush. Okay, through this thing, brevity, we are able to come to the next part. Core content should not be lost. Okay, after core content, if you can recall and remember, we are talking about examples and no repetition. repetitions. So this is your conciseness. We are done with two principles. These each one of can be asked to you for 2 marks. So please be prepared in that fashion. I'm making sure that you are able to remember each and every word that is given into your ICAI material. For the first one, we cleared off on purpose of message, simple, long convoluted sentences, bulleted points, intent of communique, and then comes principle of conciseness, which will include brevity, core content, example, and no repetitions. Okay, let's go to the next one, principle of concreteness. For principle of concreteness, I hope this figure helps you. What does this figure signify? This figure signifies that your communication should be tangible. So all you accountancy students should be able to understand what does the word tangible mean. Word tangible means something that is measurable, right? So when I talk about tangible, your communication should also be measurable. You should be able to have the right communication for right time. I hope that is clear. Next, base it on facts and figures. You should have a supporting evidence for the same. When I talk about supporting evidence, I mean by certain numericals which will make sure that whatever you're trying to communicate is the correct communication that you're doing. Abstract ideas and thoughts are liable to misinterpretation. Few men died in the fire. Few men, that's abstract. Let's make it a more specific. This concept is used way too much in report writing. So when I'm doing report writing, I need to be more specific. There were 7 men who died in the fire accident. However, 5 are critically injured and are into the ICU ward. So specific. That talks about your facts and figures. Next, abstract ideas and thoughts are liable to misinterpretation. So let's just underline the word abstract ideas and thoughts. Next, make sure that there is just sufficient detail to support your case and argument. Excuse me. There should be sufficient detail. So this is facts and figures just going much in detail. It's a connecting point. Next, bring focus to the main message. Over here, the target was what? To show that how many men died when I gave you the example. So whenever I use the word concreteness, the first word that should ring your mind should be the word tangible. Okay, now let's come back and see if we remember things. Now, when I'm talking about concreteness, the first word that hits your mind is tangible. When I speak of tangible, let's give a connecting line to tangible, and that would be facts and figures. Now, when I speak of facts and figures connecting to it, there is another word that you should be able to remember, and that is abstract ideas and thoughts. However, I would not suggest you to go in this way. I would like you to go in this way. Facts and figures, and then remember sufficient ideas to support your details. Sufficient details to support. Okay. After this, you can go to abstract idea because, hang on. Abstract idea. Because these two are pretty much connecting points. These two are pretty much connecting points which can be used as with each other. So you can remember both the points together. Rather, you can keep abstract idea. So can you change the order? Yes, why not? And the last one along with abstract idea is bringing focus to main message. And voila, we are done. Right? So when I talk about, let's do a quick revision. Let's take a moment. Okay. when I speak of clarity, the first word that hits your mind is what? Take a moment. And bang on. The first word that hit your mind was purpose of the message. And then you know that the language should be simple. How can you keep your language simple? By not having long convoluted sentences and having bulleted points. And post that, your last pointer was that the reader should understand the communique, right? Okay. Now, after clarity, we learned conciseness. The word that should hit your mind starts with B. And bang on, most of you could remember it. It is brevity. The one that we did right now was concreteness. The first word that should hit your mind should start with T. And people are able to remember it. It's tangible. So if you realize you're done with 3 principles, any of these can be asked to you for 2 marks. Let's quickly go to the next one. Next is principle of coherent. So now when you look at this image, you will understand that there is a logical connection to each of these puzzles. And that is what coherent means. It means logical bridge. So that's what your first word is all about. It is logical bridge. Okay. Logical bridge between what? Logical bridge between words, sentences, your paragraphs, all of this together. Main ideas and meanings can be difficult for the reader to follow if the writer jumps from one idea to another and uses contradictory words to express himself. So now if someone is kind of having contradictory words to express himself, like I say, I like going out, but I like watching Netflix more. I'm contradicting myself. You're not able to understand what kind of person am I. Am I extrovert? I'm introvert. I like going out. I like staying at home. It becomes confusing, right? So that, my friend, is talking about, just a moment, that, my friend, is talking about difficulty for the reader to follow something. If user contradicts his own words. If the speaker or the writer contradicts his own words. The key to coherence is sequentially organized and logically numbered. So they are giving you a way out, how to represent it logically. They are giving you the key. What is the key? Make it sequentially organized and make it logically presented. So when I say sequentially organized means number it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your life becomes way far easy. Next, all content under the topic should be relevant, interconnected, and present information in a flow. So if you want, you can use a flow chart and your life will become easy, very easy. Interconnected, present information in a flow and relevant. Okay, so now if I had to put this in a better way, let's do it. Okay, let's start with logical bridge. Coherence. When I talk about coherence, you remember the puzzle and the first thing that hits your mind is logical bridge. Logical bridge of between what? Between words, sentences, paragraphs, and goes on. Okay, coming back. When I'm speaking of logical bridge, I'm giving you a connecting line to it as, oh my god, give me a moment, students. Okay, now when I'm speaking of logical bridge, there is a connecting line that I'm trying to put here is of this, readers. Difficult for the reader to follow and uses contradictory words. So, difficulty to follow. And why does he have a difficulty to follow? Because use of contradictory words. Okay, so now if I had to come to the next part, let's understand that what is the key of coherence? How do I give out a key? The key to coherence is in a following way. What is the key to coherence? It is sequentially organized and logically presented. That is your key. And the last part to it is relevant, interconnected, and in a flow. So relevant, interconnected, and in a flow. So if I had to make you remember this, I would have put it this way. There is coherence means it's a logical bridge between words, sentences, and paragraph. However, if there is no logical bridge, the reader will have difficulty to follow. It can also be because of contradictory words. How can reader not have difficulty to follow? By using the key to coherence. So what is the key to coherence? Two things. Sequentially organized, like I'm sequentially organizing it right now, and logically presenting it. Bang on. And that can be relevant, interconnected, and in a flow. That can be relevant, interconnected, and in the flow. So we have also used a flow. We have tried to interconnect things, and we have tried to make sure that it is relevant. So everything that I'm doing with you right now is coherence, trying to make sure that our communication is extremely effective. Chalo, now let's go to the next one. Completeness. Oh, hang on. With principle of coherence, what is the first thing that hits your mind? The word is logical bridge. Okay, let's quickly revise through. For clarity, the first word that hits your mind is purpose of the message. For clarity, conciseness. For conciseness, the first word that hits your mind is brevity. For concreteness, the first word that hits your mind is tangible. For coherence, the first word that hits your mind is logical bridge. And now we come to principle of completeness. A complete communication conveys all facts and information required by the recipients. We use the words facts and figure in a principle before. Can you think of which was it? I'm giving you guys a moment. And people who could not recall it, let's see. Facts and figures in concreteness. Can you figure it out from here? Yes? Okay, let's go. Coming back. Principle of completeness, you should have all your facts and information which is required by recipient at to one place. So the first thing that hits your mind when I say completeness is facts and information. It keeps in mind the receiver's intellect and attitude and conveys the message accordingly. So it is making sure that the receiver's intellect and attitude. I cannot teach you something which is Python based or C++ or Java. I need to understand that you are a commerce student. You are not into software. There can be hardly someone who might be into software and commerce together. So if I had to put it to you, I need to understand your intellect and your attitude before I start teaching you. Convey the message accordingly. A complete communication helps in building the company's reputation, aids in better decision making, and as all relevant and required information is available with the receiver. So now when I have to say what does a complete communication do for you, you should be able to remember that it builds the company's reputation, basically builds the goodwill, and also helps in better decision making. There you go, bang on. Okay, so let's continue quickly. Let's see if we remember all the pointers. Now coming to making it complete. How do I make it complete? First, you need to have all the facts and information required. Then, with all these facts and information, you should be able to understand the receiver's intellect and attitude. Intellect and attitude of receiver. Okay, after that, what does it help? A complete communication helps in two things. Helps in two things. First one, building reputation of the company. So company's reputation. And decision making. And we are done. Yay, we remember the pointer so well. Now let's come to the next one quickly. After completeness, we have courtesy. Courtesy, see, you can see this person. He's being so polite and generous. Courtesy means what? Polite, considerate, respectful, open, and honest. Let me give you a abbreviation to remember it. Honest, HOP, HOP, RC. So, for courtesy, we are building a abbreviation which is HOP RC, which is honest, open, polite, considerate, and respectful. So a lot of you miss out on respectful, and that is why I made sure that you go back and check again. The center of the message takes into consideration the viewpoints and the feeling of the receiver of the message. Very important. So whenever I'm teaching, I make sure that my students understand it very well. I take into consideration your viewpoints and feelings of what you're thinking and speaking. Make sure nothing is offensive or with hidden negative tone is included. Very important. Please do not be sarcastic. Do not become Chandler Bing. Okay, coming back. Hop RC. Second point. There you go. Understanding the viewpoints and the feelings of the receiver. Making sure that nothing offensive or with hidden negative tone is included. Excuse me, students. Yeah. Viewpoints and feelings. Next, nothing offensive or negative should be included. Okay, quickly, let's go to the next point. So, if I had to ask you to remember something from courtesy, you should be able to remember HOP RC. That is honest, open, polite, respectful, and considerate. Now, coming to listening for understanding. When I ask you what is listening for understanding, you need to first understand the difference between what is listening and what is hearing. Hearing is a physical ability that happens. So now, if you stop everything for a moment and start thinking that everything that is happening around you, stop listening to me. Start thinking what is happening around you. You might be able to hear a lot of noises around you, like for an instance, your ceiling fan or your laptop making noise, that the laptop fan making noise, or birds chirping, traffic voice, mama's kitchen making noise, like your cooker and TV serials making noise. There will be so many things going around. You might have not realized either one of them till the time I just told you about those. You know why? Because all that is a physical ability. You have ears, you will end up hearing things. Listening is something that you pay attention to, you concentrate on. So, when I say listening for understanding, what I am trying to do here is making sure that you understand that there is a difference between the word hear and the word listen. So we hear a lot of conversation, news, gossips, and many other forms of speech at all times. However, it is not listened to carefully and therefore not understood, partially understood, or misunderstood. So, have you realized that if we don't really listen to anything carefully, we either don't understand it at all, or we understand it partially, or we totally misunderstand it? So, that's why it's always said that half knowledge is dangerous. Stop listening half of the things, listen to the full thing. And that is why you will be able to understand the communication fully. What if you don't listen carefully? You follow through these three consequences: not understanding, partially understanding, or misunderstanding. Now, what does a good listener do? A good listener does not only listen to the spoken words but observes carefully the non-verbal cues to understand the complete message. Now, you need to understand, students, that what does a good listener do? He will understand the verbal plus the non-verbal message. So if I come and tell you something like this, students, I think the next topic that so we are going to learn, no, the feeling, no, the topic listening, understanding. Are you able to understand that I'm behaving very nervous? That is my non-verbal cue. If you understand that, you are a good listener who understands verbal and non-verbal cues. That is the crucial part of it. Being able to understand verbal plus a non-verbal cue. So here the word that you remember is non-verbal. Okay, let's go to the next one. He absorbs the given information, processes it, understands it, and forms an accurate, reasoned, intelligent response. So, what does a listener do? A listener will make sure that anything that you speak is first absorbed, processed, and understood. So, the first step is what? Absorbing the information. Then, processing of whatever has been told, and then understanding it in detail. After that, you form a response which is supposed to be accurate, reasoned, and intelligent. So, why do I say reasoned? So, it needs to be in connection to what question that has been asked. The listener has to be objective, practical, and in control of his emotions. So, when I say objective, practical, and in control of his emotions, is because at a lot of times, whenever we hear something about someone, let's say I heard about someone that he is not a good person. So, every time that person, even if tries to do something good, I will have a I will have an emotion. I will not be able to control it, and I might tell them that, oh, you are trying to look forward for something negative. So whenever a listener is listening something, he has to be objective, practical, and in control of his emotions. Often the understanding of the listener is colored by his own emotions, judgments, opinions, and reactions. Now, when I speak of, let's say, a chick flick movie, everyone sitting here might be like, oh no, that will be a boring romantic comedy movie. No, no, we don't like it. You are colored by your own emotion. There might be a chance it might be really a good movie, but you might not give them that chance. You are coloring by your own emotion, judgments, opinion, and reaction. So you should avoid doing that. A prospective listener is able to satisfy a customer and suggest solutions as per the need of the client. This is what is important. What does a prospective listener do? Rather than telling the client, so let's say you get a call from your client saying that you have filed wrong returns for this year, you're not doing a right job, I'm getting so many penalties and litigation, what are you doing? Rather than telling him, oh my god, you gave me the files late, because of you we are late at filing returns, I have been eating your head since last 6 months to give me the files, but you were not bothered. This is one way of reacting to your customer and losing your customer. However, what else can you do? You can start telling him by, oh, let's do one thing. I understand that there has been a problem at our end. It can be a mutual problem because at times you are not able to give us the required information at time. However, let's divide the cost of your penalties. Let us help you with the half of it, or let us waiver your partial fees, and see, you will be able to retain that customer. It is about taking the perception from the listener, it is about taking the perception from the speaker. So your listener needs to be perspective. He must be able to satisfy a consumer, satisfy a customer, and suggest solutions, and only then you can retain your customers. So my friend, how do I put it? Listening for understanding, first you need to, okay, first and foremost, please do not try and mug up listening for understanding the way you have tried and mugged up the other C's of communication. Over here you can write a lot of things in your own words, however your keywords should not change. So now, the first thing that you should be able to remember is the difference between the word hearing and listening. Hearing is a physical ability, however, listening is a conscious effort, which, if not done rightly, will not be understood, partially be understood, or absolutely be misunderstood. Now, what are a good listener's cues? A good listener should observe carefully what verbal and non-verbal. So the next sentence that you should be able to remember is verbal and non-verbal. What does a listener do? He absorbs the information, processes the information, understands the information, and gives out a response which is accurate, reasoned, and intelligent. If you do not remember all three adjectives, it is fine. At least try and implicate one adjective in each of the words, in each of the sentences. The listener has to be objective, practical, and in control of his emotions. So when I say that a listener should have been objective, so he should not be subjective, he should not be biased, he should be thinking from one way, he should be practical, and he should be in control of his emotion. Please make sure that you remember this line. This sentence is of greater importance and should be included in this listening for understanding answer. Often the understanding of a listener is colored by his own emotion, judgments, opinions, and reactions. So when I speak of emotions, judgments, opinions, and reactions, and colored by, this thing gets repeated once again in your barriers of communication. Your task is today go home and check it in which of the barriers of communication the same sentence is getting repeated again. A perspective listener. So now if you realize the word perspective has been used, excuse me for a moment. Okay. Perspective listener has been used as an example over here. A prospective listener is able to satisfy a customer and suggest solution as per the needs of the client. Now, the things that you should be able to remember. First, my bad. The first thing that you should be able to remember is the difference between hear and listen. Then what happens if you do not listen carefully? Not listening carefully. Then what happens? Then the implication is three. Not understood, partially understood, or misunderstood. Okay. Third, after not being able to listen carefully, let's go back and see verbal and non-verbal cues. So what does a good listener do? He understands the verbal and non-verbal cues. Listen now. Good listener also does one more thing. See, check. A good listener is objective, practical, and in control of his emotions. Objective, practical, and in control of emotions. So when I talk about a good listener, these 2 points should hit your mind. Good listener. Okay, let's go back. Fifth point. Now, what does he do? He understands the problem. So, he absorbs, process, and understand. And post that, what does he do? He makes sure that after absorbing, processing, and understanding of the emotion, he will be able to form a response. And the response will be what kind of response? It will be first, accurate, reasoned, and intelligent. Now, after this, colored by his own emotions, right? Colored by his own emotions, opinions, judgments, and the last one that we have is the example of a prospective listener. Bang on, we are done. Easy, right? Okay, now let's come to the last two. Okay, last two again, you do not have to remember them in detail. Let's quickly skim through. Focus and attention. So if you realize we are doing multiple activities at a time, even while you're listening to this lecture, there is either your mom calling you down, your friends giving you a call, some messages popping up, you realize that you have to finish an assignment from the college, you remember that you had to go to get something for your mom, a lot of things happening together. So there are multiple activities going on simultaneously. Here the word that you need to be remembering is multiple activities. What are the kind of activities? A phone call, incoming mail, numerous tasks, anxiety related work, emotional distress. So this is an example. Such distractions are detrimental. Detrimental means dangerous to the communication process with an individual or a group of people. So everything that I teach you goes in air just because you are way too distracted. So this is detrimental. Distractions like these are detrimental. You may overlook or completely miss important points or cues in the interaction. So if you are trying to do multiple things at a time, you miss out on important points. or cues. Thus, keeping your focus and attention during the communique is imperative. Imperative means important. So, during the communication, it is important to keep your focus. Here, the main point that you need to remember is multiple activities, which multiple activities, and what does this multiple activity have an effect on the communication. And bang on, you're done and dusted. That's it. Your focus and attention is way far easier than your listening and understanding. However, you need to come back to emotional awareness and control. This is crucial. This can be asked to you for 2 marks whole. Again, I do not want you to write it copy paste, but there are pointers that you should be remembering. Basically, the keywords that you should be making sure that you remember it. Okay. Emotions play a major role in our interaction with other people. Now, that is very true. It is your emotions which are going to play a role. Every time you need to be aware emotionally, they are powerful force that affect our perception of reality, regardless of how hard we try to be unbiased. Let's say for an instance, there is a person that you hate, and you and I are friends. I automatically start hating the person that you hate, because it is like that person did something wrong with you, who is a very close friend of mine. It is a powerful force. That person might have not done anything wrong with me, but I will gradually start hating the person just because they have done something wrong with a very close friend of mine. Emotion, that is emotion, and it is a very powerful force. I try to be unbiased, but I can't be unbiased. So here, important points: major role in our interaction, powerful force, unbiased. These are keywords that should be part of your answer, whatever happens. In fact, intense emotions can undermine a person's capacity for rational decision making, even when the individual is aware of the need to make careful decisions. So, our rational decision making is hampered. Whenever I try to make a decision which is rational, it starts getting hampered. And why does it get hampered? Because of the intense emotion that comes into the picture. Consequently, emotional awareness is necessary element for good communication. Okay, that's a concluding line, but before that, let's go to the prior line. I need to make sure that you underline certain words. Rational decision making. Okay, for an instance, let me give you an example for this pointer. For an instance, there is a situation where there is a person's capacity. Let's say that my kid is studying with the same grade of batch where I'm teaching. That kid of mine is going to fail in the exams. It's my emotion. I cannot do a rational decision making and fail my own kid. I will try and find a way out to pass. Make sure that my kid passes in the exam. It affected my rational decision making. It is incorrect. That student is not liable to go to the next standard. But because I am the mother of the child, along with being a teacher, I am not being able to make a rational decision making. Okay. While interacting with another person or a group, it is important to understand the emotions you and he, she, they are bringing to the discussion. So this is very important when you're interacting with the other person. We should also understand what kind of emotion are they facing. Let's say you come to me after the exam and tell me, ma'am, we had a very bad paper. Our paper was very difficult. I was not able to understand anything. I think I'm going to fail. And then I come and start telling you, my God, you never studied only. You were already hopeless. You were wasting so much of your time on Netflix and scrolling. Why were you doing such things? Was that the right time of putting this point in front of you? No, it wasn't. This wasn't the right time. I was rather supposed to do what? I was supposed to console you. I did not understand the emotion that you were bringing to the discussion. You were already very tensed. Managing your own and others' emotions and communicating, keeping in mind the emotional state of others, helps in smooth interaction and breakdown of the communication process. So, students, here it is very important to understand that managing your own and others' emotion. That is what the line above it said. That understanding the emotions that you and the other person both are bringing to the discussion. After understanding it, you are supposed to manage it and then communicate with the people. If you do that, then your communication becomes what? Smooth. And there is a proper breakdown of the process. So if I had to put it into your mind for emotional awareness, you need to remember all these words that I've given you here. Major role in interaction. It is a powerful force regardless of how hard we try to be unbiased. It affects the person's capacity for rational decision making. And emotional awareness is a necessary element of good communication. While interacting with other person, it is important to understand the emotions that you and the other person are bringing. After understanding that emotion, you should be able to manage those emotions of yours and the other person by keeping in mind the emotional state of others, smooth interaction and breakdown. I hope this is simple and easy to understand. We have tried and figured out the whole of the process of emotional awareness and control. Okay, so before I give you a tata bye bye, let me quickly give you a revision of what all we have done till now. We started with the first one, clarity. For clarity, I wanted you to remember the purpose of message. After that, we started with the next part, that is conciseness. For concise, I wanted you to remember the word brevity. Okay, then we started with concrete. The word that you should be able to remember is tangible. Coherent. You remember the puzzle? Logical bridge. First words that should be pointing your mind, that should be coming into your mind. After coherent, being complete. When I speak of complete, it should be facts and information. You use the word facts and figure over here also. Okay, after complete, we came to one more point, that was courteous. For courtesy, you need to remember HOP RC. HOP RC is what? It is honest, open, polite, respectful, and considerate. Please try and make sure that you remember your R's well. Okay, then we did listening for understanding. Here you need to know the difference between hear and listen. Then we did focus and attention. For focus and attention, I want to make sure that you remember the word. Hang on. Yeah, for focus and attention, I want you to remember the word multiple activities. And then those examples that you remember. Okay, after this, the last point we did was emotional awareness. When I speak of emotional awareness, it is a powerful tool, unbiased, coloring, unbiased. Listener's opinion is colored. Colored by his own emotion, opinions, judgments, ideas. I think there you go. We are done and dusted. I hope you guys are comfortable now. We have done the 7 C's of communication, the characteristics of effective communication in detail. If you have to go back, listen to the session again, you will be able to remember each and every point that is given to you in the exam. Please do not try and mug up for emotional awareness and listening for understanding. Pick up the base points and answer them. It will make your life way far easier. apart from that, the other points we have made sure that you have remembered it. Take an hour out in today's day and make sure that you revise this and write it. For theory chapters, please make a point to write it. More you write it, the more it will stay into your minds, and it will be lesser hard work that you will have to do during the times of exams. Okay, so let me tell you a bye for today, and I'll see you next time. All the best for your exams. Do well. Bye bye.